So, let's talk about all those labels you see popping up on your playlists. We're going to deconstruct what they actually mean. What is a music genre really?
Have you ever been scrolling through new music and just hit a wall of weird names? You see things like krautrock or lo-fi or dream pop, and you're just like, what does that even mean? Trust me, you are definitely not alone. It is a vast world of sound out there.
So here's a much better way to think about it. Genres aren't these strict, rigid boxes you have to fit music into. They're way more like a giant sprawling family tree, or maybe a map. Yeah, a map to help you explore and find new sonic territories that you might just fall in love with.
Now, to use that map, we first got to understand what we're even looking at. So let's break down the actual anatomy of a genre. What are its component parts?
Okay, so what's the official definition? Well, a musicologist named Franco Fabri put it perfectly. He said a genre is a set of musical events governed by a definite set of socially accepted rules. Now, that sounds a little academic, I know, but just think of it like this. A genre is basically a style with a recipe that a whole community of listeners and creators all recognize and kind of agree on.
So, let's look at the ingredients in that recipe. There are really 5 key elements that give every genre its own unique fingerprint. First, you've got rhythm. That's the pulse, the beat, the engine of the song. Then there's instrumentation, the specific instruments being used, whether it's a string quartet or a super distorted guitar. You've also got harmony and melody. Those are the chords and tunes that give the music its emotional feel. And vocal style. Is it sung, rapped, screamed, or whispered? And finally, this is a big one, cultural context. The community, the place, the moment in history that gave birth to that sound.
And this chart really makes it clear, doesn't it? Just look at classical music versus hip-hop. One uses these structured, complex orchestral forms that are rooted in a European tradition. The other is built on rhythmic speech over sampled beats born from the block parties of New York City. They're using the same 5 elements, but the recipes create these 2 completely different, amazing sounds.
Okay, now that we know the building blocks, let's start tracing some of those branches on that family tree. This is where it gets really cool, because you can see how all of modern music is connected through this fascinating lineage of sound.
So let's start with the blues, born from the struggle and incredible resilience of the Deep South. That powerful root then branched out into the improvisation and swing of jazz. Then, boom, the 50s hit. Artists plugged in, electrified the blues, sped it up, and created rock and roll. And just a couple decades later, punk rock grabbed that same formula, stripped it all the way down to its raw, rebellious core. You can totally hear the direct line of descent.
Now, let's trace a different kind of lineage, one built almost entirely on the groove. It all kicks off with funk in the 60s, which basically made rhythm king. Then disco took that danceable energy and brought it to the nightclub with that steady, hypnotic pulse. From there, DJs in the 70s started isolating those amazing funk and disco breaks, rapped over them, and just like that, hip-hop was born. And from there, the evolution just kept going into the massive world of electronic dance music we have today.
But here's the thing about that family tree. It isn't always neat and tidy. In fact, the most exciting parts are where the branches get all tangled up, where artists just decide to blur the lines and create something completely new.
And this is what we call a fusion genre. It's when musicians take the rules from 2 or even more totally different styles and just smash them together. I mean, think about the complex harmony of jazz blended with the sheer power of rock. That's how you get jazz fusion. It's like musical alchemy. It's incredible.
And then, of course, you have subgenres. This happens when a huge genre, like rock, starts to splinter into all these more specific styles. Suddenly you have heavy metal, grunge, indie rock, punk rock. They all share that basic rock DNA of guitars, bass, and drums, but each one has its own unique flavor and attitude.
And this quote from Co-op Radio really just sums it all up perfectly. Music isn't some static thing set in stone. It's a living, breathing entity. There are subgenres of subgenres, and those lines are constantly being redrawn by new artists. That map is always expanding.
So, just how much is it expanding? You might want to brace yourself for this one. It's estimated there are over 1,200 definable music subgenres out there. 1,200. That is just, it's mind-boggling, right? It really shows you the incredible non-stop creativity that's happening in music all the time.
So with over 1,200 genres out there, how in the world do we navigate it all? And what does all this complexity mean for you in your personal playlists?
Well, to understand why you like what you like, we actually need to look at the psychology behind it all.
Okay, so here is the big reveal. Researchers suggest our tastes aren't really about genres at all, but about these 5 underlying factors. We might be drawn to mellow, relaxing sounds, or maybe ergon, rhythmic beats. Maybe you prefer sophisticated, complex music, or high-intensity, forceful tracks, or those more down-to-earth, campestral singer-songwriter styles. This explains why you might like both smooth jazz and classical. It's not about the genre label, it's that you're drawn to that mellow factor they both share. What this really means is that your personal taste is completely, totally unique. It's not about being a rock fan or a hip-hop head. It's your own specific blend of these deeper, universal responses to sound, rhythm, and emotion. Your playlist is a reflection of you, not just a collection of labels.
So, genres. They're a guide, not a gatekeeper. They're a map to a world that is constantly growing and changing. Which means the only real question left is, what new branch of that incredible, sprawling family tree are you going to explore next?